G'day everybody, Mark Westcott here and live in Cairns in Queensland, Australia, Richard Island. G'day Richard.
Morning Mark, and good morning to all the viewers all over the world. You've got a cast of thousands. You tell me how wide this goes.
Well, I mean, we actually have a lot of people who follow us over in America as well, Richard.
I understand that. They're up late.
They're up very late. Well, they'll be watching it tomorrow, one or the other. I think a lot of people involved in NADA back in the days when we used to go over to those automotive trips over to America together.
Excellent. And one day we'll do that again.
One day we will. One day we will. Look, just as by way of introduction, I mean everyone will have read your bio that we put in promoting today's show. But I'm just going to talk from a personal point of view. And Richard, we've known each other from university days back at James Cook University in Townsville, North Queensland. Our brothers knew each other well down in at University of Queensland in Brisbane, and you came down to Townsville, James Cook, and we were in colleges just across the road from each other.
We were. In fact, I think we were in the same college at one stage as well when they threw you out of yours.
Jeez, you're starting early, Richard. You're starting early. Anyway, look, today, as I said before we came on, I just wanted to look you in the eye because obviously we haven't been travelling much in the last 12 months. But congratulate you on your OAM. Congratulations. It's a great honour and mate, well deserved. So great honour for you.
Thanks, Mark. But and a lot of people have said that to me, and I really do appreciate it. But as I say to them, it belongs to a lot of people. These things don't happen unless other people in your life enable you, and to a huge extent, my family, especially my wife Maria, because you put a lot of time into all these things that bring those sorts of things your way, and the other kids and everyone, they all to a large extent suffer for your benefit down the track, and for other people's benefit along the way. But there's also a lot of enablers from people in organisations that you end up working with, and for instance, I wouldn't have got involved in the Reef and Rainforest Research Centre unless Sheridan Morris at the time had said to Warren H, I think we should have this guy as a chair, and I wouldn't have been involved in Advanced Cairns if Nick Tromp, the current executive chair of Advanced Cairns, came and saw me and said, look, I think we should get involved in this organisation further and try to do something more with it. So there's a lot of people that enable you along the way, and unless that happens, some people like me as you know, I'm generally a fairly quiet sort of a person. I can make myself affable, but I'm perfectly happy to sit up the lake and read a book or watch a movie for about 6 weeks in a row. So sometimes I won't jump out and do something unless someone puts it in front of me.
Yeah, you're being very reticent in regard to your own capability, Richard. But you are right in regard to it does take other people to sacrifice, and sure, your family have had to live without you for certain times while you've been doing all these wonderful things for the community. But I just want to give a quick bio again because you are a remarkable man, and you're going to say that was hard for me to say, but it's not hard at all. The only thing I'm going to have trouble with is, apart from your local education in Cairns, you went to some dump in Brisbane to school. Is that right? Oh, Brisbane Grammar School. Is that what that says?
I did. Back in the day, I'll give away my age, but in the early 70s, there was only really 2 private schools in Cairns. They were both Catholic church schools, and we weren't Catholic. We were Anglican, or are Anglican, and so it wasn't the Catholic Church didn't really take Anglicans, and Anglicans really didn't go to the Catholic schools. So there was also a view that because there were a lot of kids who didn't really want to be at a school in the public system, you could end up with a lot of distractions, and that's the case. But everyone learns to deal with those. You have to. But in our parents' generation, Dad went to Brisbane Grammar, so I was a bit of a shoe in there to go anyway. But my two older brothers had gone as well, so I didn't really have much choice. And their view was that send me away to grammar for 3 years for grade 8, 9 and 10, and then come back to Cairns and get involved in the community again, learn, or meet a whole lot of people here. And if you do it that way around, a lot of people sent their kids to Brisbane Grammar for grade 11 and 12, the other way around, kept them in Cairns for 8, 9 and 10. Those kids tended to not come back to Cairns. They stayed in the cities, a lot of them, whereas the cohort that went in 8, 9 and 10 and came back to Cairns for 11 and 12, they have tended to stay in the city and really integrate with what's going on here. And I think it was a good choice at the time, because I certainly learned a lot through being at grammar. I went from wearing a plain grey school uniform, shorts and shirts, no shoes in grade 7, because I think you wore your black school shoes in grade 1 for about the first 3 days, and then they ended up hidden in the cupboard so your mother couldn't find them. And you went to school bare feet for the rest of your primary schooling until you were in grade 7. That was Cairns, and every school in Cairns, except the Catholic schools. And then you go to Brisbane Grammar, and because I was quite a normal sized person, I had to go and have a suit fitted for me rather than buying it off the shelf. And so you go in and get your suit fitting at Freedman Suits and buy your suit and your blazer and your school ties and your shirts, and you turn up at Brisbane Grammar having learned how to tie a Windsor knot from your father. And it's a fair sort of a culture shock, I can tell you, going from Cairns grade 7 to Brisbane Grammar grade 8. But after probably homesick for the first year. After that, I really enjoyed it. By the end of grade 10, I didn't want to come back to Cairns. I was enjoying myself too much with all sports and activities, rowing and camps and all sorts of things that you do in a boarding school. But fortunately for me, my parents insisted I come home, and that was it. But also at that time, similar to the GFC type recession, the Australian economy wasn't doing too well in 1976, and there was a really good financial reason not to have a kid at boarding school too. So that ended that excursion.
That's right. I'm just going to read through. I asked you to send me a couple of lines I could use to introduce you, and of course that it's impossible for you to write just 2 lines. So I'm just going to say, and I'm going to come back to a couple of these things. Joint Managing Director of FR Ireland Proprietary Limited, a motor dealership in Cairns, which your grandfather started, and we'll come back to that in 1923. A number of boards are involved with it: Advanced Cairns, Reef and Rainforest Research Centre, Far North Queensland Youth Assistance Fund, Motor Traders Association of Cairns, the Cairns Taipans Basketball. I know you're a great supporter of that and heavily involved in that, the Rotary Club of Cairns and so on. You've got interest in some not-for-profits. You've been named an outstanding alumni from James Cook University, a Paul Harris Fellow of Rotary, Medal of the Order of Australia, and numerous motor industry awards. So you've lived a good life already, Richard, and I know you've got plenty more to go yet, but I'd really just like you to talk, if you could, just in regard to the family car dealership. FR, your granddad started that. Your dad, a wonderful man, ran that for many, many years, and now you and David are involved, and you're the chairman of the business. So do you just want to talk about the longevity of the family business? It's because there's some comparisons with what I do in my work these days, which is a lot with rural people, where you've got family succession down the generations.
Sure. I can't claim. I won't claim chairman. We're joint managing directors, David and I. So we work. Yeah, we work together. Most days are really good. Some days you end up with the sibling arguments that everyone can have. But but yeah, by the next day you're good again. Anyway, so the business, yes, was started in 1923 by a grandfather. Back then he had a bag of tools, and he was really he'd done a bicycle mechanic apprenticeship when he was a lad, about 12, and he then did a motor mechanic apprenticeship after that. After that, he worked for a fellow in Innisfail, and he ended up deciding that he really wanted to start his own business. And by then he had, in 1923, he already had a daughter. He was married, but he started a business in Cairns with, as he says, with a bag of tools and no money. Started out building bicycles, repairing cars. The following year, he managed to get a distributorship from Chrysler. And the first car he sold was the 1924 Chrysler Tourer. And we actually have that car on site here. It's been fully restored by a fellow in Innisfail, and it was verified by my grandfather as being the car. He sold it to a fellow on the Tablelands who had owned it, driven it all his life. It ended up in the paddock, as all of them do, driving a water pump and that sort of thing off the PTO. Rusted out. Fellow in Innisfail bought the car off him, restored it. This fellow in Innisfail had restored a number of cars, and he decided he wanted to do some more. And his wife said, "Well, as they all do, well, you've got to get rid of some if you want some more." So he came to us and said, "I've got this car. Would you like it? Are you interested?" So we bought it. So we have that car. Anyway, that was the first car he bought. But over the years, he changed franchises a few times. 1924 was Chrysler. He went to Whippet and General Motors, and then back to he dropped General Motors because of supply issues. Took it up again in 1930.
That's ironic.
Because it's ironic. Back in those days, supply was the big thing, as it is today. And so he picked it up again in 1930. And we've been General Motors dealers continuously since 1930, except for a short few months last year. And we're now GMSV dealers again, and life goes on.
Just for those who don't understand acronyms, that's General Motors Special Vehicles. You're a distributor for them. Did I get that right?
Yes, it is. It's the we used to be Holden and HSV dealers, and Holden has stopped distributing, as everyone would be aware, and HSV used to be a separate business from Holden, owned by the Walkinshaw Group. They did the conversions. General Motors decided that they'd like to do the distributorship of those cars, GMSV cars or HSV cars, Silverados. We're going to have Corvette, and so General Motors took over the business from HSV, and HSV still do the conversions, or Walkinshaw do the conversions for GMSV now, and we've got a new dealer agreement with GMSV.
Okay, so that's American cars coming over here, obviously converted, but American cars, factory cars coming over here and spruced up by HSV. So you still have that Holden connection or GM connection in some way today.
Yeah, we do.
I know you can't talk about the divorce of Holden in Australia, so I won't ask you any questions about that. But
no one talks about the divorce.
Okay,
and I'm not divorced, as you know, but no one likes to talk about the divorce. But I am looking forward to the Corvette Stingray when that comes out, because I drove Corvettes when I went over with Holden in I think it was about 5 or 7 years ago. They took us over there and they took us to a track. I think it was in Colorado, and we drove Corvettes for half a day. And the model we drove then was the C6, and it was just awesome. They were left-hand drives, but the cars that are going to come here will be built in the States as a right-hand drive vehicle, and that will just be an awesome car. Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I've already ordered the personalised plates, mate.
good on you. That's the way, because look, the Holden name was synonymous with the Islands family. I mean, you guys had it in Cairns. Tony had the dealership in Townsville, and he's still got. Then he had the dealership up in
in Atherton, yep, Western Cairns.
Yeah, he bought the dealership up in Atherton. So, you know, that was a huge connection between Holden and the Island Group. But anyway, you guys have moved on. You've still got a very big dealership there in Cairns, North Queensland, and obviously still doing very, very well. I want to ask you, family is very important to you, and one of the questions that I've been prompted by your daughter to ask you is, what are the core family values that you've strived to carry on from your dad, who was just a lovely guy, knew Ron well, and your grandfather? What were the core family values that you incorporate on an ongoing basis?
They were extremely good business people, but in the best sense of the word. They weren't the sorts of people that you see in the Royal Commissions. So
Just
it has to be. My daughter just sent a note to say thanks for the shout out.
That's okay, Sheridan. I'm sitting here looking at your questions.
It's good. I mean, honesty, reliability, trust, under promise, over deliver, and always leave something in it for the next person.
Yeah, great advice.
My grandfather always said, when you're selling something, don't try to get so much out of it that there's nothing left for someone else, because a good deal is between the ears, as they say, and that's where you've got to end up.
Very good advice. And I remember, just as an anecdote, when I came up for your dad's funeral, Richard, and I hope I don't tear up again today, but as we were driving from the funeral out to his resting place, and we're just in the car driving out there, and every person in your dealership was out on the street.
I was
to your dad as he went past.
And I'm pretty sure at some stage Brett Heritage might see this, and he was the undertaker on the day, and Heritage Brady do a very, very good service in Cairns. So I'll shout out to them as well. But Brett said to me when we were leaving the church, Brett said to me, I think we'll just pull up outside the dealership. And I said, Brett, do not do that. I don't want you to stop. I want you to keep going. Anyway, the bugger stopped. I'm still cranky with you, Brett, because I think everyone realises how much I don't like personal attention, and that was just a little too much on the day. But it was a very nice thing to do. But, yeah.
It was a great sign of respect for your dad. He was a wonderful guy, and just still brings a lump to my throat to think of the fact that every employee was out there on the footpath watching as your dad went past. So he deserved that. He was a good guy. So family is very important to you, and Maria and your children, I know, are a big part of your life. Richard, as is the dealership, as is Cairns, and you're just so involved in the whole community. It's you are one of the good guys, Richard, and I'm really it's an honour to be spending some time chatting with you today. I want to ask another question, Sheridan. Here's another call out to you. How do you define success, Richard? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's. I think you've got to talk about what it includes. Success includes failure, but not constant failure. But if you haven't failed, you haven't tried too hard. No. Certainly haven't tried hard enough. Success includes failure, but not constant failure. But if you haven't failed, you haven't tried too hard. But if you haven't failed, you haven't tried too hard. No. Certainly haven't tried hard enough. Success includes failure, but not constant failure. Certainly haven't tried hard enough. it's a fellow that we know pretty well. I haven't seen him for a while. I'd like to catch up with him again, but his name is Paul Hockey. And I don't know if you remember Paul, but he lost his arm to childhood cancer, and he decided that he wanted to climb Mount Everest, and he did. And Paul's motto was never give up, never ever give up. And I think that's part of success as well. You cannot give up. You cannot allow something to beat you. And if you do, you've got to have your frame of mind right when that occurs. You've got to get ready for it mentally. And then if you do fail and you do give up for the right reason, then that's a success as well, I think. It depends on how you leave something when you failed, as to whether you've been successful or not. The other thing is that you've got to learn from those failures. Certainly you can't keep doing the same thing. I think it was Einstein said something about that's just stupidity. And I think, but the real thing about success is constantly improving your position, however small or micro that may be. Successes don't have to be in great big lumps. In fact, they really are. I think you should treat it success as all the wins, and the incremental ones are what really matters. It's rare that someone wins lotto, so I don't think you should put all your eggs in those sorts of successes. The other thing is that you've got to do is bring people with you. And if you keep improving your position and bring people with you, all the stakeholders, all the people that actually matter, then that's success.
And you take me back to some of the work we've done together, and the emphasis you put. I remember a few years ago when we were doing some work, the emphasis you were putting on making sure that your key people had every opportunity to be the best versions of themselves that they could be was important to you, and hats off to you for that. You do live that. You do want people to have every opportunity to grow themselves. It's just not about making money for the business. It's about giving people opportunity. And for some of those people, they probably went off and set up their own businesses because of the training you've given them. They've been successful elsewhere, but you've helped them in their lives, and good on you for that.
And that was always the view of our father and grandfather as well. There's a young fellow considerably younger than me that Gary Crick from the North West, and Gary did his apprenticeship with us. He was a technician. Then he worked as a service advisor. He was in used cars as a used vehicle salesperson. Then he became a new vehicle sales manager for Holden. And his doctor said, you need to move south because of your skin. So he did. And we couldn't be happier for Gary. We were terribly, terribly sad to lose him on the day, because he was sensationally good at his job, as has been proven, because the Crick Group these days is enormous.
Sure.
And it's those sorts of opportunities that if someone leaves your business and they go to an opportunity, that's great. And you should I think you should celebrate that with them. I think it's good. And you're right. We try to help people along. In the past couple of years, it hasn't been as easy or as possible as it has been in the past, because there's all sorts of margins, pressures, and market, all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the certainly our philosophy is to help people along.
Yeah, no, and a lot of respect to you for that. And Gary is just a great example of someone who's just absolutely blossomed, and throughout Australia, he's very, very successful these days.
Yes.
With a great start from you guys. So shout out to you for that. This question, Richard, if we're meeting here 3 years from today, looking back to today, what has to have changed for Richard Island for you to be happy with your progress? both personally and professionally?
Um, I'd like to be able to travel again.
Yes.
Italy, Greek islands, the UK, Switzerland, Canada. But not 3 years to the day. I'd be happy to wait for spring. Um, uh, then back to work after the travel. I think I would like to certainly spend less time at work. I got to a stage a while ago. My wife swears it didn't happen. But I did get to a stage a while ago where I was working about 3.5 days a week. I left on about midday Friday and came back in on a Tuesday morning, and that worked for a while. But something happened in the world economy, and I got busy again. So try to get back to that situation would be really nice. Retirement's an elusive term, and it's very ill defined in our family. So I don't think that's probably something that I should try to define. But I think there's a lot to do in this business yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, last question from Sheridan. I hope she's still listening and getting excited by the fact that I'm paying attention to her questions. What advice would you give a new business owner? We've just got a few minutes left, so just a short summary on someone new coming into any business. What advice?
Cash.
Have some.
Treat it as more important than profit. Profit is important, but cash is certainly more important. And the number of early start failures that fail not because they haven't made a small profit or a small loss, but because they've run out of cash. But cash is king. The second thing I think is people. It's always who and then what. So you need to find the right people and then fit them to the right job. And if you've got the wrong person in the wrong job, you've got to change that quickly. But it's always who then what. You need to find people when it's who then what. You need to find people that you're comfortable with and that you'd be happy to take home for dinner, have dinner out with. If you've got employees that you wouldn't share a meal with, you don't need them. Another thing is with your employees, you need to treat them like you you need to treat your employees like you would like your sons and daughters to be treated. Don't put up with the rubbish. You want them to be respectful, but you have to be respectful and appreciative of everyone you've got. So you've got to keep in mind everyone's of value, no matter what their job is. They've got self-respect. They've got families. They've got expectations, and you've got to remember that.
And they have feelings as well.
They sure do. They do. Yep.
Now, tell me, one of the things I'm sure you would agree, Richard, mindset is fundamental to success personally and professionally. What are you still doing? We've known each other for a long time. What sort of things are you doing these days in regard to gratitude, mindset? Keeping a positive mindset all the time. Do you have daily or weekly sort of routines that you utilise to help keep that positive mindset?
Not as regimented as you would like them to be, Mark.
Progress, remember, perfection.
Yes, yeah, micro sometimes. I think the main thing is to try to find the positives in things. Avoid the bad news. If there's a bad news story, don't read it. If there's a bad news, something on TV that's bad news, change the channel, unless you really need to know about it. And if there's something you can change, get stuck into it and change it because you feel better by the end of it. Certainly, I try to have, it doesn't always work, as you noticed on Sunday, I'll try to have, I try to have my my days, time where you're not working. But
Free time.
Free time, yes, exactly. But I think most of my days presently are buffer days. So, but certainly free time is important. I read. I enjoy reading. The book I've got at the moment is a bit of a challenge, but I'm getting to the end of it, and I'll probably throw it away then, because I don't think anyone else should have to. It's a novel, but it's just hard work. Some of those novels, sometimes you pick one up and you read it in a flash. Others take, like this one, a very, very long time. But anyway, I like to read these days. I didn't used to read very much at all. Not novels anyway. It used to be mainly trade type stuff. But reading free time, and I enjoy spreadsheets, mate.
Yeah, coloured graphs and spreadsheets. That's your Colby profile, Richard. I know all about that.
Spreadsheets are fun.
I know. Hey, Richard, we've got to wind it up there, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. We haven't chatted for a long time for whatever reasons, and it's just been great from a personal point of view to catch up with you again and have this chat today. So, thank you for putting the time aside. Thank you. Thanks for your daughter Sheridan for contributing some questions for me to ask you. So she's part of this as well.
And to all the viewers, just keep in mind, despite what the southern media say, Cairns is open for business. We haven't got a cyclone. There is no damage that you need to worry about, and you can come for holiday. So come on up.
Highly recommend it too. Great place up there. Thanks, Richard. Good talking to you.
Thanks, mate. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.